Alright, let's try this again. Welcome to my tutorial on how to suck at Photoshop. I'm going to go through styles and blending options today. Start with the bottom. Drop shadow. Now, drop shadow, like these blending styles are pretty powerful, I guess. Now, it is mainly self-explanatory, but we'll run through it just quickly. Now, at the top, I'm going to do blend modes last. So everything, all these blend modes will just be on normal, then I'll go through blend modes at the end. Opacity is obviously how much you can see underneath the effect, right? So if you've got so you can see the differentiation between what's happening in the background as well, depending on the opacity. The distance is obviously the distance from the layer itself to the the position of the drop shadow, or the illusion of it, because obviously it's still just one layer. There's no split in between it. Now, spread and size work in tandem. If you don't have any spread, like you don't get any like thickness, thick, like like Bowsette's ass, thick, brother, thick. So think of spread as thick. Oh yeah, spread it. Size is like it's dissipation from everything to nothing. It's taper. Now I'll run through contour curves in the next one. So yeah, drop shadow is fun. I find that usually an angle of this on these top two quarters, like let's say 3 o'clock and what's that, fucking 9 o'clock or whatever, they're your two best or your standard drop shadow angles. I mean, playing around with that is obviously what you'll be doing. I think as far as things like this go, the less is always more. Turn the opacity down a bit, bring that size back a little bit more, like bring the distance back to almost nothing. I mean, if people can't see it, then it's good. If people don't see it, then it's perfect. Or if you can't tell if it's wrong or right, then it's right. Because it's just when you see it and you're like, wow, there's something wrong with that, then you know it's wrong. But if you're like, oh, I don't know, it kind of looks alright, I think it's right, then it's right. Alright, so obviously drop shadow itself copies the layer and then, you know, portrays it down to the left or whatever angle you've got it on. Whereas outer glow is just like a border. And like same sort of deal, you know. With the, instead of it being called spread and size, no, it's still called spread and size. Like you can use these in tandem with each other by changing the blending modes, which I'll go through later. But yeah, so if you've got, let's say, lightning or something, then outer glow is it's a good style to just add, you know what I mean? Like you can have a yellowish sort of tinge to the background of your lightning. I mean, where have we got here? You can see here, there's this lightning. Yeah, so with the layer effects and not, you can completely change something. Alright, so back to the blending options. Pattern overlay. And you start with, what is it? Legacy patterns or something. And it is what it says it is, like it's just a pattern overlay, you know. It's okay for sort of final touches, I guess, with a really, really low opacity like that. It's up to you. You can download patterns or you can make your own. Gradient is pretty much just like a color overlay, but it's a gradient instead. Angle depends. Linear, radial, reflected is actually the shape of the overlay. So to show you this properly, so this is your gradient overlay. Scale will change the dimension of the actual overlay. Alright, and this is your bar here. There's presets that you can use basically, or you can make your own by clicking on these color icons. Alright. Okay. Right, gradients are pretty cool. If you run it with like a lower opacity, and then maybe have your pattern overlay with it or whatever. The combinations are unreal, bruh. Okay, now satin is kind of like just a wash over it, I guess, of a color choice. Depending, inverted will put it through the center. Now curves, this is where I want to show you curves, because it'll be easy to see. Now, curves, contours, whatever they decide to call it at that position, like it's the squares with the wiggly things. Now, contour or curve pretty much just it defines how the satin or the outer outer glow or whatever it's produced. So you can see this with the ridges in it here. That's essentially these. If we pull this back, there, so nothing, and then a rise, a reverse, that like bowl curve, a hump. So yeah, and you can essentially manipulate it to however you need it to be. Yeah. And that is pretty much the same across the board, you know. If I just, hold on, are we, outer glow. See how you got those two ridges in the contour, always the same. Get some pretty cool effects going.
Sitting on a throne behind the wheel. Got some tunes on my favorite cassette. Put the pedal to the metal and do it back.
Alright. We will get there. Color overlay is obviously color overlay, and just whatever color you want it to be. So you want that to be white, we'll just rasterize it back to white. Inner glow is basically the same as outer glow but reversed. Get it off that gradient. Yeah. Alright. Fuck around with the edges and borders or whatnot for that inner glow, and then you got the inner shadow, which I think you came in and saw before. Now, inner shadow is always pretty good to use. It's just with a black, no noise, normal contour curve, decent distance, a little bit of choke, and quite a bit of size. Like, and that gives you that, it looks like it's a dropped in sort of thing. Maybe pull the opacity back off it a bit and give it a stroke. Like maybe 2. Now, bevel and emboss works well with inner shadow in complete reverse. So let's say you've got your angle running this way for your inner shadow, then you'll have your bevel and emboss running that way. And that should be black. Inner shadow, give it some more darkness, maybe a bit more distance. like that. Want an outer bevel. Fuck around with the sliders until it's nice. Okay, that's a pretty good edge now. So we've got contrasting inner shadow with an outer bevel. Both are opposite directions. So inner shadow, say top right, bevel and emboss, bottom left. Bring its opacity down a little bit. Bring its size in more. Try and get that edge real nice and fresh. Maybe this stroke here can beast mode itself back down to non-existing. Not bad. And then you can pull the fill out of the middle of it if you were so inclined to do so. Now you've got a pretty little fucking photo frame because you're a faggot. But yeah, save your style, and then you can always just like, you know, whip it out again if you need it. Or combine styles, whatever. So if you now create another layer, nothing really working for us. That looks pretty cool. Turn its opacity down a bit more. Alright, so now we'll go through blending modes. Now a blend mode is pretty much the base properties of the layer. Like a normal blend mode will just be normal, flat, solid color like paint. Your different blend modes will give you different effects and results, I guess. Like say a color burn will let a lot of the underside color through. A negative or a difference will what is it, exclusion, subtract. Yeah, I think it's difference. Difference usually flips the colors, there you go. Because we all know that green in reverse is, or minus green is pink. If you didn't know that. I need to have a piss. Okay, so fuck around with layer styles and start saving them and collecting styles. Now, the second thing that I'm going to show you is filters. You go to filter gallery, and these files here, like these are all different filters that you can apply to your image or layer, right? Like there's a lot of them there. And they all, like, you know, you can adjust them all for different sorts of whateverness that you need done or whatever. Like a favorite thing that I like to do is run a base relief with pretty decent detail. About there maybe. And then I'll cut it, Control Alt Z, return it back to its original, and then paste that over the top. Fuck around with the blending options or whatever for it, and then I'll start stacking layers of layers upon layers. Go to our adjustments, maybe give it some more darkness and stuff like that. Flatten the image, duplicate the layer, and then just let's, for fun's sake I guess, just was that an A? Yes, it was. So I've duplicated this and then I've erased a lot of it, which you can't see yet until I do that. Or where's our outer glow, or stroke will show it. That's a shit one though. Yeah, let's use this. There we go. Like this is essentially just the same image, just with that bit erased, and now I'm going to drop a drop shadow on it so that you can see where I erased. Where are we?
Please don't tell me that you've changed. Don't wanna hear on how you've lost your evil ways. The one who's changed this time is me.
Show all effects, stroke it, baby. Okay. Hopefully that's enough tools for you to fuck around with for a bit. Like, these blend modes really do change it up. Don't want nobody wrong with it. By the power of Ra, there's your fucking Photoshop tutorial, bruh. If you have any questions, just ask me and I'll create more lessons. When you're ready, Street Fighter, fucking hell.